Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something, well, it's pretty interesting, I think, anyway. It's this whole debate sparked in Ghana over betting taxes.
Betting taxes, okay.
Yeah, it's like this, we found this article from Lestrangema. It's a Ghanaian news site, I guess, and it talks about, this prominent economist, right? He comes out swinging against the new president's promise to cut taxes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So what's the main issue here?
Well, the new president of Ghana, John Mahama, he basically pledged to remove a bunch of taxes, to help people out.
Right. Makes sense. Sounds like a popular move.
Totally, right. But then you've got this economist, Professor Stephen Adei, who's like, whoa, not so fast. Not all taxes are created equal.
All right. I'm intrigued. So what tax is he so concerned about?
The betting tax.
The betting tax, huh?
Yeah, currently it's at 10%, but Adei wants to see it jacked up to 50%.
50%, that's quite a leap. He must have some strong reasoning behind that.
Oh, he does. He definitely does.
Well, lay it on me. What's his argument?
He calls betting a disastrous habit and thinks a hefty tax like that would deter people from participating.
The classic sin tax approach.
Exactly, like with cigarettes and alcohol.
Right. So the idea is to use taxes as a tool to influence behavior, discouraging people from engaging in activities considered harmful or undesirable.
Yeah, and also to generate some extra revenue for social programs, maybe even offset the costs associated with those activities.
It's a pretty common strategy, actually. Governments around the world use sin taxes on things like sugary drinks, fast food, even plastic bags.
But isn't there a risk of, driving those activities underground, people finding ways around the taxes?
Absolutely. That's a major criticism. Some folks argue that sin taxes disproportionately impact lower income communities who can't afford the inflated prices. And then there's the concern about black markets popping up, making those activities even harder to regulate.
So it's not as simple as just slapping on a big tax and calling it a day, huh?
Not at all. There are definitely some valid concerns and potential unintended consequences to consider.
And it's interesting, right? Because you have President Mahama who's focused on providing immediate relief by lowering taxes. But then you have Professor Adei who's taking this long-term view, worried about the potential negative impacts of betting on individuals and society as a whole.
Yeah, and he even gets pretty personal about it, saying something like, I don't want my grandchildren to be betting.
Right. That's a pretty powerful statement. It really injects, a kind of emotional element into this whole economic debate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, totally. It really highlights the ethical considerations that are often intertwined with government policies.
It's like, is it fair to use taxes as a tool to influence people's behavior? Where's the line between personal freedom and societal well-being?
Big questions, for sure. And it's not just about the ethical side of things either. There's also the economic angle to consider. Could lowering the betting tax actually stimulate economic activity in that sector, maybe even create jobs?
That's a good point. And could a larger betting market, even with a lower tax rate, actually lead to increased government revenue overall?
It's certainly possible. And that adds another layer of complexity to this whole debate. It's not just a simple question of raise the tax or lower the tax. There are all these different factors to weigh and potential outcomes to consider.
It's kind of like a detective story, right?
Yeah.
We're sifting through the evidence, trying to piece together all the different perspectives and figure out if there's a solution that works for everyone, or at least minimizes the downsides.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And the thing is, this whole debate in Ghana is really just a microcosm of a much larger conversation happening around the world, especially as technology makes things like betting and gambling even more accessible.
Right. Like, how do we balance personal freedom with the potential for harm? How do we ensure that regulations are effective in a digital age where things move so fast?
These are questions that societies everywhere are going to have to grapple with, and there are no easy answers.
So, listeners, we're throwing this one out to you. What do you think about this whole betting tax debate? Is it fair to use taxes to try and influence behavior? Where do we draw the line between individual choice and the well-being of society?
Let us know your thoughts on our social media channels. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
And that's it for today's Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.